These are the things that I noticed about men. Men are natural hypocrites and they can't take what they dish out. The only way for them to learn or to know what they did was wrong is for you to do the same exact thing that they did to you and do the exact same thing back to them. They are not nonchalant at all. They just don't give a fuck about you. They have feelings. They just don't have feelings for you. When most of them say they went a year or two without having sex or they were celibate, that's bullshit. They're only celibate because they couldn't get any pussy. They randomly bring up a girl from their past and talk shit and talk about the things that they did to them. They're not over that person. Ask them one question at a time. Don't ask them a whole bunch of questions because they're only going to answer one anyway. Men respond to no contact. They're not going to respond to those big ass paragraphs and you posting those quotes, but they're definitely going to respond to you going days without talking to them and canceling plans with them.
I've spent some time looking at different perspectives on men, and what I've found, honestly, has been a real mix of eye-opening and frustrating. Let's unpack it.
These are things I learned about men in my 20s. The good ones are truly very simple and easy to be with. The toxic ones, you will never outmaneuver their logic, and even if you do, there is no way you can do it without hurting yourself or compromising your own morals. He will never be as in the details as you are, and I am not justifying their incompetence, but they just don't have an eye for aesthetics and details as we do. The ones that know how to sweet talk and do really romantic things learned from another girl. Most of them will require you to tell them or show them what you like before they know. He's not going to figure out that you like orchids over roses. No matter what age or how successful they are, they all have a very cutesy and softy side that only you see. Actions will always speak for themselves. Regardless of what he is saying, the truth will be in his actions. If you're not the dream girl, you're the convenient girl. They settle down when it's the right time, and sometimes that's with the convenient girl. When he starts associating you with stress because you guys fight or argue too much, the relationship is over because it is damn near impossible for him to change that mindset. Lastly, if you want to know more about him, look at his friends.
This is how to understand guys. Ladies, listen up, I'm going to spell it out for you. Most men do not talk about their emotions the way that we do. Bar the odd few, but that is likely because when they have in the past, they've had it used against them and they're scared that you're going to do the same to them. We as girls want to talk it out, get to the root of the problem, but guys just aren't wired that way. So when you clock onto the signs of him distancing himself and you can tell that something's up, don't pressure him to talk about it. Let him know you're there for him if ever he wants to, but just listen to him. And maybe do some subtle things that will make his day easier. Secondly, guys don't really get the whole hints thing. Again, for the most part, if your boyfriend does, you're extremely lucky. The likelihood is he has a sister because he's very well versed in women. However, for the vast majority of men, that TikTok that you sent him, where you're like, oh, this looks so fun, isn't going to sink into his mind that that's you subtly asking him, without asking him, to go and do that together. They're simple, logical creatures, just ask him straight up. Now, when a guy starts acting overprotective and jealous when you've given him no reason to not trust you, he does trust you. He doesn't question your loyalty. It's normally one of two things. One, because of past experiences and environments you find yourself in might trigger that for him. Or because he knows what guys are like and he knows you're a beautiful woman and other guys are going to think that too. Lastly, girlies, what I think is good to remember is that we have grown up on fairy tales of happily ever afters and rom-coms. And in some ways, that sets our expectations from a very young age. And with guys, they don't typically have that. They learn from actual physical experience, which is why you can't assume that he would know what he needs to do to make you happy. Just have a conversation with him and tell him what would make you happy. It doesn't even have to be serious, it can be a light-hearted, jokey thing. When me and my boyfriend first started talking, we set out a contract. And in no means was it actually serious, but it did show us both exactly what each other want in the relationship.
Now, I'm not saying all men are master manipulators, but there's this idea that they tend to focus on what benefits them, and they don't lower their standards to accommodate a woman. This can be a tough pill to swallow when we, as women, are often conditioned to be givers and caretakers. We may try to fit a man into our already full schedule, while the same may not be true for the man. I think we need to take a page from their book and prioritize ourselves first. It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing your value and not dimming your own light to accommodate someone else.
It's not a lot of conversation about the really beautiful parts of men. Outside of their money, outside of their things that we are attracted to that don't get a lot of attention. And I know a lot of men are not gonna listen to me or believe me, but when I tell you these attributes are so sexy. Number one is vulnerability. When a man can be honest about the trials and tribulations of life, how it made him feel, what he learned from it, how he grew, how he found resilience, how he's changed over time, and honestly and authentically articulate these things to his partner, to his friend, to his therapist, it is so fucking sexy. Unfortunately, a lot of men think that it's best to be a macho man, don't cry, blah, blah, blah. That is what other men are telling you to be. But what are the women saying? The women are saying, tell us, talk to us, confide in us. We want to help you. We want to get to know the real you. How can we really connect if you don't let me in? Next thing that I find, chef's kiss, decisiveness. It is so sexy when a man can just make a decision. It's not about how quickly he makes a decision. It's about how he thought about it thoroughly. He weighed the options, he looked at the pros and cons, and he made the best decision for the moment. And once he has made up his mind, it's made. If that ain't masculine energy, I don't know what is, baby. The next thing is a man who cares about others. I always wondered why I had such a strong attraction to Malcolm X and revolutionaries, and it's because they dedicated their life to helping others. It's so selfless and it's so sexy. A lot of men are inherently selfish. So when you meet a man who actually wants to make the world a better place and puts action behind it, oh child, I'm ready to cook a Thanksgiving dinner every day of the week. The last one, I actually asked my mother the other day, what trait would you say is really important in a husband? And she said, a man who is slow to anger, a man that is not reactionary, a man that can sit in his calm, who can let a wave of emotion pass. It's not that we all don't get triggered, but when you understand that your trigger is a feeling and you can sit with it, you can understand where it comes from, and you can decide how to act. It's giving man. It's giving husband.
Here's a list of things I've learned from men. Well, boys, because men do it different. Number 1, if they can go 24 hours without talking to you, they can go a day more. They just don't care. When they are not as talky, the attention has gone to someone else. Duh. Let's look in the mirror. Let's not be delusional. We are not going to hop like bunny rabbits after a carrot. No, we're going to let it happen and we're going to move on. We're going to hop, hop, hop to the next man, okay? If they want to, they will. If they don't, they won't. If they can't, they'll voice that. If they want to take you on a date, they will. If they don't want to take you on a date, they flat out won't. And if they can't take you on said date because of money, something came up, the planning, whatever, they will tell you if they care. I like you, and then they don't act on it. They're weird. They're weird. They're liars and they're weird. We don't do that. We're not going to fall for it. We're not going to be delulu. And being nonchalant is not a personality trait. They just don't care. If they cared enough, they would not be nonchalant. Do we get that? Whew. I love you girls. This is why I'm advocating. And every guy you say no to, or who treats you bad and ends up leaving, you're leaving them, whatever, is another step towards the love of your life. So think about it that way. We don't always have to be sad. We don't always have to be glum. In the end, we're building a puzzle. The end of the puzzle is a beautiful masterpiece. That's the love of your life. The pieces are just putting that together.
I see and hear all my ladies in the comments lamenting how being with men and being in marriage isn't beneficial for us anymore. And I want you to thank your luck that you live in a time where men are this brutally honest about what really goes through their heads. You might think that this new batch of men is just horrible, but I assure you, your dad and grandpa's generations were likely worse by far. The only difference is that those men knew that those conversations are locker room talk or barbershop talk, and it's counterproductive to have those in front of women. It makes you unattractive. They were refined in that way, for lack of a better term. Now, these youngins, for some reason, lack that socialization, and not only do they think that they could say whatever they want and still remain attractive to women, but they also do get a kick out of hurting your feelings and bringing you back down to earth. But I say thank your luck that you live in today's world because you are way better equipped to make informed decisions about the men you let into your life than your mother or grandmother ever was.
A man will treat you according to the value he sees in you. Meaning, if he believes you're the most wonderful woman he's ever met, you'll see his dedication and devotion to you. But if he seems confused and not consistent, it's because his intentions with you aren't clear to himself. Because someone who believes they found a diamond doesn't treat the diamond like a regular stone. But remember that this has nothing to do with your worth, okay? It has everything to do with the way he perceives you. And that is harsh truth number one about men. My name is Ismael Gomez. I'm a coach, writer, and speaker. And ladies, today I'll discuss 13 harsh realities about men that women often learn too late. Listen to each one of them carefully because I promise you, it will stop you from experiencing disappointment, confusion, and heartbreak in the future. Okay, so let's begin. Number 2, he won't love you unconditionally. Ladies, never expect unconditional love from a man, okay? This is something that ends up causing a lot of suffering in many women. If you think that someone will love you no matter what, no matter if you fail to meet his needs, neglect his feelings, or disregard the balance of give and take in the relationship, you will be setting yourself up for disappointment. Unconditional love is for your children, your parents, your dog, but romantic relationships are built on mutual benefits, whether emotional, physical, or social. By the way, this applies to women as well, okay? I remember my grandmother told me once the same advice. She said, never expect a woman to love you unconditionally. And I was like, what do you mean, abuela? I don't understand. And she said, if tomorrow you are thrown in prison for life, okay, whether innocent or guilty, no woman will put up with that. Only your mother and I will be there every week to see you. And I laugh now because old people always come up with the most extreme scenarios to prove a point, but there's a lot of truth in what she said, so always remember that principle. Number 3, insecure men will destroy you. An insecure man will try to destroy the things he loves about you. Why, you may ask? Because he knows that older men are attracted to the same qualities that he noticed in you. So if you're playful, charismatic, and have a great circle of friends, many times he will isolate you and slowly dim your light. And once you become codependent and boring, he will say that he lost attraction for you, without even understanding that he was the one who caused it. So always remember this. Whoever you were when he first met you, that's what attracted him to you. So don't let anyone mold you into what they believe is best for you. Number 4, transformation after wealth. In their 20s or early 30s, a lot of guys settle down with a woman because she's the best option that they can find at that moment. They find someone who treats them well and who they think will be a good wife, so they marry her. But once a man starts making some serious money, okay, which for the average guy usually happens around their 40s, things often change big time. Suddenly, he starts getting attention from women who never noticed him before. And now curiosity starts kicking in, plus a midlife crisis thinking that he doesn't want to miss out. So the woman that they married when they were young, who seemed like the best that they could do at that time, may not fit into their new picture of success. Number 5, will lie about cheating. You can find a video of your partner cheating on you, okay? And many guys will say that someone made that up with AI. You can walk into your house, catch him on your bed with another woman, and he will say that she drugged him, that he was unconscious, he doesn't even remember how he got there. I mean, I've seen it all. If you think that most men will just admit, hey, listen, I messed up, okay? I cheated, I take full responsibility for my actions, and I will work on myself to stop this from happening again. Ladies, that barely happens. And don't get me wrong, okay? Those cases do exist. I've witnessed some guys who really, made a change in their lives and worked it out with their spouse, but that's 1 in a million. Most men would rather face death than admitting they betrayed you. Number 6, he doesn't care about you being nice. If you meet a man who's truly in love with his partner, you know what you will never hear him say? Oh, I love her because she's the nicest woman I've ever met. You know when you actually hear those words? When somebody leaves you. Ah man, I broke her heart, but she was so nice to me. You see, when men are looking for what they want in a woman, being nice isn't usually top of the list. It's like, sure, it's great to have someone who's polite and all, but that's just expected, okay? They take it as a given. What really matters to them are things like intelligence, a good sense of humor, having shared interests, and of course, physical attraction and an emotional connection. Number 7, great guy doesn't equal great husband. Some men are wonderful individuals, okay? Everyone loves hanging out with them. Their friends think that they're the best and their family adores them. But when it comes to being a great husband, it's a whole different ballgame. Being a great husband isn't just about being a great friend or, fun to be around. It involves qualities like communication skills, the ability to compromise, and a commitment to supporting and nurturing the relationship in ways that go beyond surface level interactions. Which reminds me of someone in my family, and I'm not gonna say her name, but she always says about her ex-husband, he's the most wonderful guy that you will ever meet. Just make sure that you don't marry him. Number 8, has no direction in life. No woman will ever be good enough for a man that doesn't know what he wants. If a man lacks purpose, if he's not driven by his work, his goals and dreams, if he's not passionate about the type of man that he wants to become, then how can you expect him to be passionate about you? If a man is constructing his life as a garden and that he knows everything that he wants in it, then the moment that he sees a flower, he will appreciate it. But if he doesn't know what he's building for himself, then he will only seek you for relaxation and not inspiration. Number 9. Watch out for the chasers. Many men don't want a relationship, ladies. They want the chase and the conquest. Understand that a secure man will never chase. He'll express that he's interested in you, okay? But if you start playing hard to get or any manipulative games, he will direct his attention somewhere else. A man that chases you intensely is someone who likes the feeling of pursuing what's out of his reach. So once he has you, a few months or a few years may pass, but eventually, in most cases, he'll have to drive to chase someone else again. Number 10. Will judge your body count. Most people, both men and women, say that they want to know everything about your past, okay, including how many sexual encounters you've had. However, once you disclose all the details, it usually causes a lot of friction in the relationship. And ladies, I'm all about honesty, okay? But you don't have to reveal every explicit detail, like every guy that you kissed and who was the best kisser. And I know that some of you do this to poke a man's ego, to make him jealous. And even though you might get his attention in the moment, in the long run, it would only lead to toxicity and unhealthy dynamics in the relationship. Number 11. Will replace you instantly. As a man, I've experienced being replaced in the past, okay? Women who walked away and quickly moved on to another guy. Usually though, when it comes to women, this process is gradual, okay? It often takes a few months or even years for the relationship issues to emerge. It's like there's a slow buildup of tension and dissatisfaction that eventually leads to a breaking point. However, it's usually different in male behavior. For many guys, it can happen in a flash, okay? They'll meet someone new one night, feel completely infatuated, and the next day, they're out the door. And you have no idea what happened or how it happened because you never saw any signs. Number 12. He's been brainwashed by X-rated content. Many men develop unrealistic expectations about their partners due to exposure to X-rated content from an early age. Imagine teenage boys already consuming these things, and this is usually their first experience in sexual education outside of what they learn from family or school. There's a lot of research indicating that frequent consumption of such content can lead to dissatisfaction in relationships, as men may compare their partners to unrealistic standards portrayed online. And final, number 13, they value freedom. Men value their freedom above everything else. We place a high value on our independence and personal space. A man feels his power is being taken away if a woman forces him to commit or show love to her. He needs to do it on his own. He needs to feel that he can leave in order to stay. And let me give you an analogy so you understand better. He needs to walk into a movie theater and see the exit sign behind him so he can leave if he wants to, but he decides to stay because the movie is so captivating and worth watching that he wants to experience it until the end. Alright ladies, those are the 13 harsh realities about men that women often learn too late. For those of you who are more experienced, let the younger women know in the comments which ones you've experienced yourself so they can see the evidence and learn from you as well. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. I'm glad that you chose me to learn about self-love, dating and relationship dynamics, because like I always say, for your relationships to change, you need to change. Have a beautiful day.
I am currently in the healthiest relationship that I've ever had in my life, the longest relationship I've ever had in my life. And I want to share with you guys a couple things that I noticed that men need in order to have a healthy, successful relationship. Now, this is just based off of my man. I don't know everybody, man. So if the information stick and it resonate with you, girl, take it. Just take it. Number one, men need to feel, well, my man needs to feel like I support him and I have his back no matter what. A lot of times y'all be running to y'all family members, running to y'all cousins, talking down on y'all man. He find out about it, or the family start treating him funny, and now you wondering why. It's because you literally are showing that you don't have his back. Why are you talking about him when he's not there? Number two, support his dreams. You are literally the difference between him going after what he wants and him thinking that he's not good enough based on your reaction. A lot of times when men first get these ideas, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, they bring it to their lady. When you be like, that's not going to work. Girl, I wouldn't tell you nothing else. You know how I feel when you have your dream. You want somebody to support it too, right? Yeah. I don't care what men say. They have feelings. The reason why they don't open up a lot of the time is because they feel like when they open up, that the person that they open up themselves to will use that information against them later on. So show him that you are a good listener. You listening to what he got to say. You want to know how his day went. You actually care. Men seem to love women that actually care about them. Put him on to something new. You don't want to be like all the other girls he ever dated. And you know how you do that? By being yourself. Don't let people tell you how to act with your man.
What's up, loves? It's your girl Deej, and I am going to give you 3 things that I love about men that women could actually learn from. Number 1, they only judge people based off of their actions, women especially. So the thing that I love about men is they will judge you strictly based off of what you do. They're always paying attention, and a lot of times women don't take this into consideration. They're watching what you wear, how you move, who you hang with. They're watching everything, and they're judging you based only off of your actions, where women, we tend to judge people based off of their words. Well, he said he was going to do this. Well, he said he loved me. He said this. Men know this, right? So they tend to play that in their favor. They will tell you anything that you want to hear, right? While also judging you based solely on your actions. Number 2, they have audacity. And sometimes when we hear this word audacity or someone being audacious, we tend to associate a negative connotation with that. But this is why so many men are successful, because they simply dare to be. They have no problem asking for what they want. And a lot of ladies out there, I'm sure you can relate, men asking you for goodies and whatnot, they can be very, very direct, even if their approach is indirect. Last but certainly not least, they allow people to serve them. And I'm not talking about in the traditional sitting at a restaurant or at a bar getting served by someone who's getting paid to serve you. I mean, they will utilize whoever they have around them to make their lives easier, okay? And this is really smart because our brains are designed in a way to conserve energy. This is what men excel at, okay? So think about that the next time you hear a man say, oh, but babe, you're so much more better at that than I am. Oh, I thought you could handle that. You know I'm no good at these things. You might really be good at it, but honestly, he's really telling you, I'm trying to conserve my energy, girl. You do it. Get somebody else to do it.
Now, the videos also emphasize that men and women communicate differently. Men aren't always going to be as expressive with their feelings or as detail-oriented. Instead of trying to force them to communicate in the way that we do, we need to listen, really listen to what they are saying. We need to ask questions, not to judge, but to try and understand their perspective. For example, if a man is not talking about his feelings, instead of forcing him, we should create a space where he feels safe to share without judgment or fear that it will be used against him. I believe this approach promotes a healthier dynamic in the relationship. I've also noticed that this idea that men want the chase comes up in the sources. Now, while I don't support playing games, it's important to recognize that men value what they invest in. This doesn't mean that you need to make yourself unavailable, but rather it means being clear about what you want. and not settling for less. If a man is truly interested, he'll make the effort. It's about looking at actions, not just words. Anyone can say they like you, but do their actions demonstrate that? If he texts all day, but doesn't put in any real effort to show up, that doesn't mean anything. Now, let's talk about some of the harsh truths the videos mention. One thing that stood out to me is the idea that men don't offer unconditional love. While this may seem bleak, I see it as an invitation to be realistic about relationships and avoid codependency. It highlights that relationships are built on mutual benefits and effort. Also, the idea that many men may settle for a woman who is the best option at the time, but might then seek other options once they achieve greater success, is a good reminder that we should also be choosing partners wisely and with our eyes open. It is a very common scenario that men will say that they cheated, but they will never admit it. Therefore, it is important to make our own decisions without falling into the illusion that people will eventually change if we are patient enough. On the flip side, the videos also highlight some positive attributes of men that often get overlooked. Vulnerability, decisiveness, a care for others, and a slow approach to relationships are things I think we should be looking for. It is important to be able to recognize men who take the time to get to know you and build something real rather than the ones who give you everything in the beginning and then suddenly pull back. Now, here's where my personal opinion comes in. I think it's important to remember that these are just trends and observations, not hard and fast rules. Every man is an individual, and we need to approach each relationship with an open mind and an awareness of our own needs and desires. Instead of being mad at men, maybe we can use this information to understand what we want and to create the type of relationships that are healthy and that support our personal growth. I also think we have to stop falling for the idea of the potential of a man. We need to focus on the reality of the person standing before us, not the fairy tale we've created in our head. Is he treating you with respect? Is he aligned with your values? Does he inspire you? These are the questions we should be asking. And finally, I'm not trying to tell you to be like a man, but I do think that at times we can learn from the way some men approach life, with audacity, a focus on their own goals, and a willingness to prioritize themselves. The biggest takeaway from all of this for me is that relationships should be based on mutual respect, honesty, and effort. We should strive to be with people who uplift us, who support our dreams, and who see us for who we truly are. We deserve partners who are not afraid to show vulnerability and who are genuinely invested in creating something beautiful with us. That's all for today, folks. I hope this conversation has given you some food for thought. Remember to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay empowered, stay informed, and keep steeping in that realness.